your source for everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para-X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Hey everybody, merry meet and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. My guest tonight is Shaman Willie Windwalker Gibson. And Willie's here to do some animal spirit card reading for those of you in the chat room if you'd like one. And if you don't know who your animal guide is, you can also find that as well. And also, if you have a general question for Willie regarding readings or guides or totems or shamanism, anything else, please send me a private message and I'll be happy to pass it on. And for those in chat who want a reading, just throw it at me. Again, private chat. And if you're not in chat and it's not too late to get over here to Para-X, so just come to paraxradionetwork.com in the chat room and if you're listening and curious, come on by and get some answers. And since whenever Willie pays us a visit, we get really crowded with requests and we run out of time, so I'm going to shut up. We're going to get an early start tonight. And nobody will be left out. So, Willie, nice to have you back again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Marla. It has been a long time.
I know. We're older by the day. Yeah. Or by the minute, maybe. It's bad.
Yeah, I just turned 65 yesterday, so I'm at least a little bit older.
Happy belated birthday, and it's all in your mind. That's it.
Yeah.
You are what you are.
Yeah.
While people are getting ready to ask for some readings and stuff, I just have a question for you, and maybe I have asked this before on a previous show, but I know we get a lot of new listeners all the time. So for those who've heard the term shaman and don't exactly know what a shaman is, can you explain a little bit about shamanism in general and then how someone becomes a shaman and what do shamans do?
Shaman is a spiritual person, a spiritual leader. We do a lot of realm work. We do a lot of healing. We do a lot of healing of the land. We do a lot of spiritual work with spirits that are lost. A shaman is basically a jack of all trades, really, when it comes to the supernatural world. I've dealt with everything from angels to demons to aliens. I have had some contacts with aliens before. I started out in this 55 years ago when I was 10 years old, and I first started having, started hearing voices and seeing colors and things like that. And when I had a UFO experience, I was able to see and hear spirits too. So I've been doing this a long time. I've had a lot of teachers. People seem to think you can read a book or, and just watch a television show and say, hey, I'm a shaman. It's not that way. I originally wanted to be a peace officer, and I was for a little while. I was a peace officer, and I was an EMT, and I was a private detective, and I was personal bodyguards to different stars and people of different works of life, and I was that for a while, and then one night, the spirits just say, we don't want you to do this no more. We want you to do this. So they kept on and after me, and then finally I decided just to turn my badge and stuff in and become a full-fledged person in the spiritual world. I mean, I had a spirit guide come to me one night and told me that I was going to be a shaman, and they explained to me what a shaman was and what I was going to do, and I really didn't believe them. This was back when I was a cop, and I just let it go over my head, but after a while, they just kept on, and finally I had to turn my badge in and go on ahead and go into training. I trained with different shamans, that this came across my path, both human and inhuman, spirits and such. So it's something that, you're chosen by spirit to do. Mm-hmm. They choose you. You don't choose it. So as far as I'm in the shaman world, that's how I got started.
Okay. Well, we're going to get started on some of the readings because it's starting to line up. So, first of all, Mary would like to know who her spirit guide is, her animal guide, and if there's a reading available for her, she'll be happy to have that too.
Okay. The way this happens, when somebody asks what their spirit guides are, I kind of close my eyes and see what develops. So it's like a picture comes into my head. And the minute you said that, named Mary, the spirit guide, believe it or not, was a hummingbird that come to my attention. So a really bright colored hummingbird. And that's a power animal to me because it's flashing for her. A lot of people don't realize they have more than one animal totem. They could have lots and lots of animal totems that comes to them over a period of time. But the one that actually flashes in my head is a hummingbird.
Mm. And can you pull a card for her too?
Okay. Animal totem card that comes up, believe it or not, is a butterfly. Now, a butterfly represents a lot of transition coming in her life, a lot of different changes, a lot of luck. In today's world, what's going on today, people say, well, I don't know what's going on with all this bad energy and COVID and what's going on with the government and all this, but a butterfly is a good change coming to her. A lot of new possibilities, a lot of new offers.
Wow, and it's interesting, two winged beings came through, the hummingbird and the butterfly, and they're kind of almost on the same realm, in a sense, aren't they? Yep. Yeah, well, then that's a very, very strong message when one validates the other.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, well, good, thank you for that. Patty would like the same thing, to find out who her spirit animal is, and a reading, a card also.
Patty, the animal that flashed in my head, her power animal is an elk. An elk represents very courage, not to back up, and an elk is very strong, bull-headed type of person that doesn't allow people to push them around. If a person is timid or anything like that, and they just kind of let people run over them, the elk represents a change for them to stand up for themselves. Mm-hmm. And the totem another totem that comes up when I pulled is a lizard, and a lizard is it's called the lizard is a dream card. So it usually tells me that this person has had in the past a lot of trouble with sleeping and things like that. What I'm telling them to do, they might want to meditate about 5 minutes before they go to sleep and put something, envision something that it makes them happy, and they will have a bit more pleasant time of sleeping during the night and have more pleasant dream time.
Okay, that's good. All right, let's get one more in right now, and then I've got another question to ask you. But hang on, let me find it. All right, for Dave, you can do both the card and the card. Yeah, the card and the guide.
Okay, the minute you said that name, a black cat came into mind, almost like a panther, and that is a very good card totem to have, because it was flashing. That's a power animal, a panther, and it's somebody that's very powerful in whatever they do. Whatever he chooses to do, whatever he does, he takes the lead on it, and it's a good thing to, for a person that is either like that already or wants to become that, or wants to kind of fade down into the background. Don't do that. Go forward and put your foot forward and make a good impression to somebody if you really want that. The other card that totem that comes up with that, and it backs up what I just said, was the elk totem card came up. So again, it complements each other.
Mm-hmm. I love it when that happens. We're talking about the totems and the guides and everything. Totems, for people that don't know, are the symbolic representations of our guides. And they can be represented in the form of a totem pole or a talisman or emblem or, statue, jewelry. Is it beneficial for us to perhaps wear our particular totems, maybe in jewelry, or perhaps having a talisman or small statue in the house?
Yes, my house has got all kinds of totems in them, bears and eagles and all kinds of things to represent my spirit guides. And Shaman, my wife, wears jewelry that that has butterflies and things on them. And my totem talisman has the 4 directions and the 4 elements on them. So that's my power talisman I wear. So yes, you can do that, and it also gets the energy flow around your area and yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I would think if you were wearing like a piece of jewelry, like, a necklace or a chain or something like that, the totem would also offer you kind of, I would think, protection as well, right?
Yes. When I made my talisman necklace, I used my father's chain that had his dog tags on them, and I also wear his chain with my totem talisman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mixing that kind of thing. I mean, it works really well, because what you're doing is just centering the energy, and yes, it's compatible energy. So, yeah, I always think it's important to do that, to have it around. It's like people that wear their birthstones, thinking that it's a good omen. And so, yeah, it's really important. And also to acknowledge the animals, the guides and everything. And do we have to, or not have to, but is it a good thing to also offer them offerings as well as just being thankful that they're with us?
Yes, you can make up a little flower arrangement, or you can burn incense, things of that nature, as offerings.
Could it be also kind of maybe like, let's just say, if your totem is a bear, all right, a little bit of honey or a little bit of berries or something, to leave out. Would that kind of to kind of go along with what they would eat in nature, or what they like in nature, or something like that?
Yes, and a lot of times when I go out on cases where I'm dealing with elementals and I'm dealing with the land and stuff, I do that too. I give them offerings like that of berries and flowers, and it depends on the situation, tobacco, things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, I know it's important, even with the human or the other spirit guides that we have, to always acknowledge and thank them. But I also think it's just very nice to do a little bit of something extra because we do need to be thankful for them. They do watch out for us. And you know, a lot of times that's all you have sometimes, you know.
Yeah, well, I use that a lot, like I said, when I go, if I'm doing land things, like I went to Bell Witch, you know, and inside the cave, the first time I went there, I actually, you know, that is actually a Native American burial ground up in there, and I left a talisman in there, and I left and a medicine bag in there as an offering to the spirits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really important. You know, we do this with the ancestors. We do this with the guides. We need to do everything. I mean, it helps so much. And just knowing that you're doing something makes a big difference, too. You know, it gives you a more positive outlook and faith more than anything, I think. If you have faith in them and faith in yourself, you're good to go.
Well, when you're dealing with spirits too, and something like that, it also shows signs of respect. You know, you watch a lot of these shows where you see them provocating and, you know, hit me and scratch me and, you know, show me you're here and disrespect them.
Yeah.
You know, that every time I watch that, I just have to sit there and laugh. I said, if they really wanted to let you know they're there, you know, they would pick you up and throw you against a wall. They have no idea. You know, it's just good TV, I guess, for people who believe that stuff. But when you deal with it all the time and you have to go into a situation where you know you better show respect because they have a lot of power, more power than you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a big difference between what we see on TV, that's entertainment, and real life. And sometimes life is not so great. If you provoke something, you're going to get what you weren't exactly looking for, because it'll be like what?
I've had to pull many people out of a haunted situation where they have gotten attacked and had to tell them just to get out of my way and just go away. Mm-hmm. You know, they're making the situation a lot worse than it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People don't think, they react or they act, and then the reaction isn't so great. All right. Sherry would like to know who her animal is, and also a card pull.
Okay, let me get. You know what? I got this beautiful owl that came into my vision with her totem guide, and an owl is a lot of people think an owl is a bad omen type of a bird, but it's not. It's really it's a messenger, and to me, it's a sign of protection and wisdom. You know, and I pulled the totem I pulled was a deer, and I got the energy that people rely on her a lot because she has got the type of energy that's so serene that they can tell her their things that's going on in their life, and just being around her makes them calm and peaceful, and she's got that kind of a soft energy about her.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the card would say
the reading.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, she got a horse, which is a power animal.
Yeah.
This is telling me she has got a lot of things coming her way that's going to be very, very good to her way of life, the power of the horse. So when this energy starts to flow, just go with it.
Okay, I've got a really good question from Kathy. She said that she had a dream that she was in the woods, and when a big grizzly bear appeared, then he showed her a weasel and a fox. And she took that to mean that maybe those are her totem animals. Would she be correct? And what do you think about that?
Well, the bear, I would think, would be her power animal. And the bear is a very strong protector and a and a bear is very cunning and has a lot of wisdom. Now the other two, the bear is telling her that she's got a lot of that energy around her, whether it's people she knows or people coming into her life, to watch out for those type of people. You know, the weasel and the fox is somebody that's kind of like a couple of tricksters that's going to be around her. Usually they use people. It might be somebody trying to borrow money from her or something like that. She's got to be very, very careful of that energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like a warning. And you know, some people can just go to sleep and have these happen and remember it when they wake up, and it's really good. But they do come to us in dreams, don't they, sometimes?
Yes, and your power, that the bear is her totem animal, and that bear is a warning to her to watch out for that type of energy coming around her.
Okay, well, bears are always clever, and they know, they know what to let us do. So, do we have one animal spirit that stays with us throughout our lifetime, and do others pop in when we need them, depending on the situation? Or
you've got different animals that pops in under different situations. Now, when somebody asks me about their animal totem and it flashes, that's the animal that's usually the totem is usually going to stay with them always. That's the power. I would say the dominant one, and the others just pop in as needed.
So they kind of know, don't they? Or does the main power animal call the other ones in?
They call up the other ones in. You just take like a totem of a dog. Mm-hmm. That person might be having trouble with a relationship, or a friend that's in trouble, or a friend that's using them, or whatever. And that bear will bring that dog in to show that person, hey, it might be time for you to, change friends, or that one particular person that the person has a friend that say they need a friend, and the bear will bring that animal totem in, telling her or him that a friend is coming that will be close to them.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's the ability to know that they're there, and if, like a guardian angel, as people would think, would come to you in times of need. And we hear these stories about these horrible, maybe like this really horrible car accident, and the car lands on somebody and like a child, and the mother all of a sudden is standing there, and she's getting the strength to lift that child out of the car or whatever's on her, and she looks over her shoulder and she swears that there's an angel next to her, and the minute she looks away, it's gone, obviously. So we don't always need to call for them. They kind of read our minds or hang out with us, and trust that they will be there when we need them, right?
Yeah, well, Marla, that's happened to us. That's happened. I had a car wreck, and Shaman and I one time, and a car came out of a parking lot and T-boned us and pushed us over into a ditch, and we rolled over and rolled on our side. Well, people were, I was pinned into the car, but the door had opened up on my wife's side of the car and reached in and hand reached in and pulled her out of the car. Mm-hmm. Well, when I finally got out of the car, I was looking around to thank the person that pulled her out of the car, and people told us there was nobody. They saw her get out, got out of the car, but nobody was around. So that has happened to us.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that's very common in an uncanny kind of way. I mean, we hear about these things all the time. And, for people that don't believe in those kinds of things, I don't know, when they hear all these different stories that aren't related, aren't told by the same people, it's just really amazing that people don't necessarily, some people just don't believe, I guess. But I think
the car landed on a gas line, and evidently the heaviness of the car shut off the gas to this gas line, and we were able to get out of the car. So a lot of things happened that day. She had actually broken her back that day, and she got out safe.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, the world that we don't see. I mean, I always talk about people that live in the black and the white, and the things that we don't see that are happening in the gray and that we should open up to are rather amazing. I mean, those are the miracles. The sky doesn't have to open up and shower you with, money or something. There's lots and lots of miracles out there, and sometimes they're little, sometimes they're major, but it's really important to kind of keep an open mind, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This, like I said, this has been happening all my life. I mean, and I'm half Cherokee and half Irish, and I've got the Celtic side going on too. So as a child growing up, I had it on both sides. The Native American side and the Irish side, and I've seen spirits. I've been seeing spirits now for over 50 years.
Wow. When we come back, we got to take a break, but when we come back, I want to hear about the first spirit you ever saw. Okay?
Okay.
So everybody stay put. We'll be back in 2 minutes, and here we go.
Stirring the Cauldron will be right back, so don't go away. If you end up with webbed feet, remember, you've been warned.
Hey everyone, it's Marla. If you like tonight's episode of Stirring the Cauldron and the archive podcast as well, take a look at the show's YouTube channel and check out the dozens of shows that are there just waiting to be heard. New shows are added each week, and while you're there, why not subscribe? It's free. And if you click on that tiny little bell icon at the top of the page, you'll be notified when new shows are available. Just go to youtube.com and then type in Stirring the Cauldron Para X, and the link will appear. Just like magic.
For almost 2 decades, Midnight Syndicate has composed the soundtrack to your darkest nightmares. The imaginations of fans worldwide have been fueled by its gothic, horror, and fantasy symphonic albums. A staple of the haunted house and amusement park industry, for many, the music of Midnight Syndicate is the music of Halloween. Now, Midnight Syndicate will bring your nightmares to life in a spectacle of sound from beyond the grave.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
All right, we are back with Willie Windwalker Gibson, and we're doing some animal readings and animal totem readings, and we're getting lots of good feedback from people that have already had them. So if you want one, holler at me, and you'll get it. In the meantime, we were talking before the break about Willie's first ghost experience, and I'm curious to find out about it.
Okay, when I was 10 years old, we lived next door to a lady that was bedridden, and, she was very ill, and she never got out of bed, and her sister used to take care of her. Well, Mom would do little odds and ends work for her, like yard work and things like that, and go over and help with the dishes and things like that. So one day she sent word that she wanted to see my father. So my father went next door, and he came back, and he said that we were going to move next door to her house because she offered her house to us when she passed on. So we just moved over into her house. So after about, 3 months, she got worse and worse, and I came home from school one day, and she told me that, she called me into her room. She wanted to talk to me. So I went into her room, and she was laying there, kind of staring up at the ceiling. She said, "Willie, come over here." And I went over to next to her bed. She said, "Give me your hand." And I gave my hand to her, and the minute I gave my hand to her, she yelled out cried, oh God, and then she squeezed my hand, and then she had a blank stare on her face, and I yelled for Mom to come into the room. Mom came into the room and looked at her, and she tried to pull my hand away from her, and she had a death grip on me. She had died. So she said, I'll be right back. She went and called Dad on his job, which, he worked about 10 minutes away. So about 10 minutes later, he come running into the house and came into the room, and she had a grip on me, and she wasn't moving. I mean, she was just like, staring straight up at the ceiling. And he comes over and looks at her, and he grabs a hold of her hand and pries her hand loose. He said, now go in the other room with your brothers and sisters and don't come out until I tell you. Well, I did that, and hours went by, and finally he came and got us, and she said, Miss Beck has, died, and this is our house now. So, I was kind of glad because, I was in a death grip. I didn't know what it was at the time, but, he told me later it was called a death grip, and I couldn't move. I mean, she had a hold of me, and I couldn't go left, right, up, or down. I mean, I was scared to death. So 2 weeks passed, and I was laying there in my room in bed. I just went to bed, and I was looking up at the ceiling, and I felt something tug at my foot, and I sat up and looked down at the foot of my bed, and there she stood, and she was glowing, and she was in white, and she was smiling at me. And she kind of glided over to the side of the bed, and she looked down at me, and she nodded her head yes, and smiled at me, and then she faded out. Well, I let out a scream, and Dad came running in the room. He said, what's going on? I said, I seen Miss Beck, and he snatched me up out of bed, and my brothers and sisters, my brothers and I, we shared a room. What's going on? What's going on? My dad said, go back to sleep. Willie just had a nightmare. So he drags me out of the room and takes me in his room. And he says, I said, Dad, I saw Miss Beck. He said, son, just calm down. I said, wasn't dreaming. I wasn't asleep. He says, son, I know you wasn't asleep. He said, I saw her too. He said, I've seen her walk through the house, and I've seen her go into your room. And that was the very first ghost I saw. I said, well, what did she come back for? And he said, well, son, you were with her when she died, and you were the last person she saw, and she was just telling you she was fine, and it was like a thank you for being with her when she crossed over. And that was my very first ghost.
Wow. And a lot of people don't see things, even as children. So, that kind of set the path for the one that you're on, didn't it, in some ways?
Well, Marla, after that, it wasn't about 2 months later, I was, sitting in my room, and I was reading a comic book, and I heard somebody singing, bringing in the sheep. And I got up and looked around the room, and I went and looked in the other rooms, and I went in the kitchen. I said, Mom, somebody's in here singing, bringing in the sheaves. Mm-hmm. And she said, son, Willie, something's going to happen. That was an omen. Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't 2 hours later, the phone rings, and it was my aunt. My uncle had died, her brother. And it was about the time that I heard the singing.
An appropriate singing for what was to come. So it was kind of a not-so-subtle hint, in a sense, too.
Yeah, well, I wrote about all this in my book, and it's when, actually, this was all started in 1965, 66. That's when my adventures began, at the age of 10.
Well, this is a good time to talk about your books. I've got a couple people waiting for reading, but since you brought up the book, we got Soul Warrior and we got the Shaman Windwalker. So tell everybody about those books and then where they can find them.
Well, the Shaman Windwalker is about my beginnings, when I first started seeing things and hearing things at the age of 10. It's got the UFO thing that happened to me at the age of 10, and it goes about from the age of 10 to about in my 40s. And it's loaded down with all true stories of angels and demons and aliens and things that happened to me and people I helped during all that time. And then the Soul Warriors starts in my 40s and then up to today's times. It's got a lot of good stories in it about aliens. There's a murder case I worked on in there that I kind of helped a person out with. So they both can be found on Amazon.com, and I write for Underground Paranormal Magazine and Legends Magazine.
All right. You're all over the place in a very good way.
Yeah.
All right. Pat would like to find out who his totem animal is and also a card draw.
Well, the first animal that popped up, and it's a flashing animal, is a dolphin. And the dolphin represents balance of life. So this is telling me that, Pat, that you might be kind of off balance right now. I don't know if it's what's going on in the world and the COVID or everything, but you're kind of off balance. And what the dolphin is telling me to tell you is do something that's fun for you, whether it's going out fishing or going for a hike or going camping or anything like that. Whatever makes you happy, that will get your balance back with Mother Nature. And and your totem animal is a dog. It's flashing really that I pulled is a dog, and it's flashing very, very strongly. And it's telling me you're a very good person to be friends with. You're very loyal to your friends, and that's a good thing to do. You're a very loyal person.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, also, Ceiling Cat would like the same, her totem and card pull. Okay.
Let me see. Oh, okay. You know what? I'm getting a horse again. I'm getting a white horse. It's flashing, and again, that's a sign of being a person that's very powerful. That could be a good person as a counselor, or something like that, or a person that listens to people that. I wouldn't say wear their hearts on their sleeve, but she's a very emotional person. She's very empathetic and empathic, and that type of person, and that's a good thing to be. And it's flashing, so that's her power animal is a horse. Okay, I'm gonna try with the card pulling again. Let's see, I am getting an eagle is a very spiritual person. So I would say that the eagle is telling me that she is a very spiritual person, and she's very strong in her beliefs.
Mm-hmm. It's true. She also has a question. She says, "Are you aware on how to listen for animals warning us of danger, like earthquakes and fire?"
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I mean, a lot of people have told me that their dogs start barking and their cat starts behaving, strangely and things like that. And I've actually seen, earthworms come up out of the ground too when the ground tends to shift. A story I can tell you about from here, when we moved into our house, this was like 20 some odd years ago, I kept seeing 3 hawks circling around, and they kept circling in the house, and come to find out, we actually had an earthquake about that time, but we didn't feel it, but they about that time of day, it was like 4:30 in the afternoon. I saw the news that there was an earthquake about that time, and those hawks were circling in my house, telling me, "Hey, something's going on."
Yeah, they feel it. I mean, this is pretty obvious, but on the 4th of July, there were tons and tons of people shooting off fireworks in the neighborhood, and some of them were extremely loud. And we were outside on the patio. And this poor little baby mouse was running out and hiding and running and hiding. And I mean, it really scared the heck out of that poor little mouse. And animals are just so sensitive to all of this. I suppose insects are too, to a certain degree. But
yeah, you also want to pay attention to your animals on the inside too. They can also let you know when there's a spirit around.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. My cat does that all the time, and everybody that I know that has cats and dogs say the same thing. You know, they hear, they see what we don't, and then sometimes, you know, they're looking and looking, you don't see it. It gives you the heebie-jeebies in a way, because it's like
Talking about spirit animals, I mean, you've had people have told me they've had animals that's crossed over. And when there's problems or they're feeling bad or anything like that, they can actually see their departed animal. You know, they can see them walk through the house. You know, say, "Hey, I'm here to watch over you and comfort you." You know, I get those kind of people call me all the time about that.
Yeah, I think I don't think we're just like humans. I don't think they go forever. You know, cross the rainbow bridge, but they can come back if they want. And I don't know, you know, what it is exactly, but I've got one here in my room that every so often when I'm sitting at my desk, it rubs up against my leg. I don't know if it's a cat or a dog. It's small and it's furry, but you know, it comes in for no particular reason. But you know, when it happens, I'll look down because I'm expecting my cat to be the one that did it, and the cat's halfway across the room sound asleep. But I think it's kind of nice. I mean, I love the fact that animals come and visit us, and maybe this was an animal from, you know, lived here at one time, because I never really had any small dogs and cats maybe, but this was always happened ever since I've had the live cats too. So, you know, it's nice that they come and visit for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you this. You were talking, I kind of was digging through your stuff, and you're also a spiritual advisor. Now, tell us about that. What does that entail?
Well, I've taken the word paranormal and made it into more or less a supernatural title, because I'm into a lot of different things. Like I said, I was with MoveFront for a while as a counselor, you know, and you know I still do that from time to time, and I work other different cases all over the world. I have people contact me over the world about things like skinwalkers and raven mockers and you know, people tell me that they've seen an alien or something in their house, or different aspects. You name it, Marla. It's happened to me in 55 years. I have went through it all, and I can tell people probably what's going on with them if they just describe to me what's going on. You know, people write to me and say, "Well, I've seen this outside, and this is going on, and this is flying up in the air, and da-da-da. What do you think it is?" Well, I said, "I know what it is because I've seen it." So I'm a jack of all trades. I mean, I've been into it all. You know, I've dealt with I've dealt with demons, and I've dealt with angels, and you know, like I said, I've dealt with it all as far as the supernatural world goes. I've dealt with portals and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've been around. Tazwiz would like to know what her spirit animal is and also a reading.
Okay, hold on. I am getting an antelope for her, and an antelope is kind of like a playful type of totem to me. You know, it's a cute animal, and it's playful, and it's a person that gets along with everybody, and is cheerful, and they have their ups and downs, but more likely they're more likely to get along with everybody. And a power totem is a mountain lion. And a mountain lion is very powerful. A mountain lion is a leader, and I would think that people, again, she's the type of person who could probably take up and in any situation and solve it.
Yeah, good. Hang on, I'm just going through the notes and everything. All right. So, where did you get the name Windwalker? Where did that come from?
Well, as I said before, Marla, I used to be a cop and an EMT, and I was out on patrol one time. I was a state peace officer, so I was assigned to the fairgrounds area, and in that fairgrounds area at that time, over to one side was a Native American burial ground. And I would go through there on patrol at nighttime, and sometimes I would even park, and just sit there and be at peace with the area and the spirits and things like that. And one night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was a light rain going on, and I was looking out my windshield, my patrol car, and I seen this subject, walking down the road. And I know there was nobody supposed to be there because I had secured the area when I came on duty and locked up the gates and things. And I got out and I challenged the person as they were walking up to me. And finally they got within about 10 feet of me. I said, "What are you doing here?" And without him saying a word, out of the mouth, I could read what he was saying, that I belong here. Well, I could see by then it was an Indian. And I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I belong here." And being brought up, in the spiritual world, it didn't shock me any to be able to have somebody, telepathically tell me something. And he walked, kept walking, and finally he got up to me. He looked me up and down. He says, "What is your name? What is your Indian name?" And I said, "I don't have one." He said, "From this day forward, you're known as Windwalker, he who walks with the spirits." So that's how I got my name.
Yeah, well, it's very appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's in the book. I mean, a lot of stuff that I wrote in my first book will help people that's going through what I went through, when they're starting to hear and see things and they don't understand what they're doing. They read that book, and it's not like a textbook. It's a story that's an ongoing story, chapter after chapter, things that's happened to me. So, and people can look back and say, "You know what, that happened to me. Now I know what's going on." That's why I wrote it. I wrote that book in 7 days.
Wow. I think you probably had a little help, huh?
Well, I'd sat down one day and I wrote it longhand.
Oh, jeez.
If you can imagine, by the time I finished, I had 500 long handwritten pages.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yep.
You were meant to do it, and they were right behind you, pushing you all the way.
Well, it took me 7 days to write it, 7 years to get it published.
That's about right. That is just about right. MJ would like to know who his spirit animal is.
Okay. The spirit animal, believe it or not, is an armadillo. And I tell you what's good about this animal totem. The armadillo is somebody that's a very strong protector. And you got your shield of armor on, as the armadillo has. So the armadillo, and it's a very good, believe me, it's a very good totem animal to have.
Yeah, it sounds like.
And I'm also pulling the ant. I'm getting the ant real good with this person. He's a very good worker, and he's very good at solving things on the job. So whatever the task he has, he's a good worker and he solves it.
Good. Got a question from Ceiling Cat. She says, "Can all living things be guides, like trees or plants, or are they just teachers?"
All living things can be, guides. I went out and touched a tree and got energy off of it, and I've also gotten readings off of it. Plants, flowers, everything. Everything on Earth is alive. Even if you pick up a rock, it's got energy to it, and you can pick something off of it.
That's funny, because a couple of people, me included, all of a sudden, I think I might have told you this or didn't, but I've been attracted to rocks, and we have a whole bunch of rocks in this backyard and everything, and I'm bringing them in. I mean, I'm looking at them, the ones that are calling to me. You know, I'm bringing them in. For some reason, I'm got rocks in the house now, and it's happened to other people too. So, is that significant, if anything, or just because it seems to be going around? It's contagious. People are getting really into rocks.
You can. Yeah, Mother Earth can talk to you that way. I mean, Shaman used to go out and find rocks and bring them in, and she would build her medicine wheels out of them. I mean, I'll send you a picture of one of these, you know, when I can find them online, and I'll send you one of her medicine wheels that she has came in with, and she would come in, at one time, I mean, she would come in, you know, like the scene from Close Encounters for Richard Dreyfuss, all that stuff, and made the big rock thing. She did that one time. Yeah. You know, she got in the middle of our living room on the carpet, and she started building stuff, you know, with rocks and dirt and feathers, and she picked up pieces of car like hubcap wheels and things like that, until she was done, and she would get readings off of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the weirder thing was that somebody today was talking about painting rocks, and I was going to do that, you know, and just whatever, but something came to my head. It's so silly. Don't paint a rock. It won't be able to breathe. And I'm like, huh? Yeah, I mean, you know, my head talks to me sometimes strangely, and so you know, rocks. Shaman
paints rocks all the time. She gets messages that way. You can go ahead and paint a rock. It will breathe.
Okay, it was just so funny. I went, oh my God, I can't paint a rock. So, yeah, all right. Well, we're getting really close to being out of time. So where can people get a hold of you if they would like a more in-depth reading, if they would like some spiritual guidance, you know, all the things that you offer? Where can they find you?
They can look up Willie Gibson on Facebook. And my email address is crystalchief55@AOL.com.
Okay, repeat that because you're kind of muffled. Say it one more time, the email.
crystalchief55@AOL.com.
Okay, yeah, and you're all over Facebook, so you're not hard to find. But, yeah, like I said, this hour just flies by too quickly. And people are already saying that you have to come back. They want to hear more of your stories and more of this. So we have about 30 seconds. Give me my totem and a card reading real quick, please.
Hey, you got a spider as your totem.
Love
very,
it.
very strong, and that means you move from one situation to the next. You're very good what you do, Marla, and people really are drawn to you. Okay, and the swan is a transitional card. Is your card that I pulled. So you've got more good transition coming.
Good. That's good because the world is changing, and we should change with it. All right. Thank you so much, Willie. We will get you back sooner than later. We'll do this again.
Well, I'll see you in another 10 years, Marla.
Nah, it won't happen. Promise. We'll be too old and forgetful by then anyway, so it'll have to be before that. But anyway, thank you so much, and thank everybody for listening in tonight. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure Willie is thanking you greatly for your readings and stuff. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
Circle be open, heart unbroken, may the peace of the goddess be ever in your heart. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Merry meet again. Merry meet again.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited.